Good morning.
Morning, Liz.
We have a special guest today. His name is Brad Xanders, and we are going to talk with him about what he was involved with growing up and what kind of sort of version of cult he was raised in, and just ask him some questions and have him share his thoughts. It's kind of a different perspective than coming from a female version, so I'm kind of excited to have this conversation and see what he has to say. So, welcome, Brad.
Yeah, thank
Welcome.
you.
Welcome.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Good. What do you do now?
Right now I work for the Toro company. They purchased Ditch Witch in Perry, Oklahoma, probably 5 years ago. But I've worked for Ditch Witch in Perry, Oklahoma for 25 years. So been a great company. But I manage a group of product support representatives. So we do tech support on their products and a lot of training, a lot of travel. So really, really good job with a great company. So.
How long have you lived in Stillwater?
We've been in Stillwater probably 15 years.
Okay.
Yeah. I say we, I've been around here longer, but Nessa and I, who you know, she moved up here from Norman and probably 13 years ago. So yeah.
So let's just get right into it. What kind of group were you involved in?
Well, it's funny,
Or
well,
church, religion, whatever?
yeah, yeah. I I started snickering when you said cult because it's funny how over the years, the older I've gotten, that I kind of looked at it, that way at times. That I really felt like we kind of were on the borderline of a cult, but not anything like some of your stereotypical cults. But um, yeah, really, I'll just kind of give a little history of where I grew up. Grew up probably from the time all as long as I can remember. So birth, I guess, all the way till about 16, 16 and a half when I really started driving. That's when things got a little better for me. Uh, but we were members of a church in Del City, Oklahoma called First Baptist Church, Del City. Um, just a very strong independent Baptist church. Uh, I think that's what, Liz, you and Rachel came out of an independent Baptist church. It's really all I knew, growing up. It was very structured. So and we never missed anything. So it was a Sunday morning, Sunday night. It was a Wednesday night. It was a Thursday night for visitation and just a lot of different things like that. Um, very I don't know, I don't want to get ahead of myself. Just, you came out of that. So, and anybody else that's been in an independent Baptist church, um, just real strict on the principles and whether it had to do with clothing and what a guy or girl couldn't wear or should wear or um, you know just the doctrine and stuff, the way they preached it out of the Bible. Um, but so a lot of that I didn't know any better, so it was just what I knew growing up.
Yeah.
It's like I was telling Liz a while back. I have a lot of great memories out of that church and the
Mhm.
time I spent there. A lot of my childhood friends were people that I still have contact with today. We're not real close, but we have a lot of contact still, maybe through social media. But yeah, I mean, I got saved in that church, and even to this day, I still have my security and my salvation that what I learned and what I was taught there for the most part was biblical, and it's still what I hold true today. Um, so that's a little bit of a nutshell. I said when I hit 16, and I can get into some more stuff here in a minute, but when I hit 16 is whenever I really started just feeling like, things feel different here at this church and this place, and I was seeing stuff that my parents were going through. My mom was very close to the pastor at the time. Roy Jones was his name, um, and his wife. My dad was a deacon in the church, so he was heavily involved. So, um, starting to see things from, I don't know, just a young man,
Right.
uh, starting to question things a lot of that, witnessing other stuff in the church that I was like, really? This is going on in this church?
Yeah.
Where are the men? Does anybody stand up and say
Yeah.
anything?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I don't know if you guys have any questions about any of
Yeah.
that.
I'll ask a few. So it is, Liz, it's so nice to hear it from like a male perspective, like with the same exact, mostly similar experiences.
Yeah,
So all of that rings true for her and I, pretty much the same. Um, I was gonna ask you some specifics. I really wanted to know more about the word better. Like when you said better, I was like, okay, well, that implies that something wasn't good before, right? So I'm kind of a little curious about that in particular, that word. But what I'm hearing is like, okay, then you're starting to become more aware of the world around you and how different your life is compared to whatever quote unquote normal, right, life
sure,
outside is. So that wants me to ask you, where obviously this was a moment when you were questioning what the group had, or what was happening within it, and how that conflicted with what was inside of you or what you were experiencing in your other regular life. So was there anything in particular like that your shaped beliefs from this organization conflicted within you and made you start to doubt or right, disbelieve sort of what they
yeah,
were telling you? And if there is a specific moment, great. Or if you want to give an example of a strict thing that they did that was not, it kind of conflicted
sure.
with you, is there a moment
Well,
there?
oh yeah, I mean, just really, and again, remember when you're raised like you two were, I think you don't know any different, right? But when you are around other, I guess where I really kind of would notice some differences is actually when we would go to a church camp up in Colorado every summer, which we had a blast. It was so much fun. But I could just tell by the other churches that were there that, as far as I knew, were also independent Baptist churches. But maybe they weren't. Maybe they were Southern Baptists. I don't know. But that we were always really different. As far we had to have
So,
our hair above our ears and it couldn't touch our collars. And
yeah, yeah.
all the girls, bless their hearts, I felt sorry for them. They had to wear culottes and you know, and I know you hated that. Yeah, they hated that.
We have a whole chapter in our book devoted to culottes.
Yeah. Um, not being able to swim at the same time. I mean, just a lot of really bizarre
Yeah,
stuff that they always tried to tie back to scripture too.
yeah,
And but I think, besides some of that, can't dance, you can't, all of it. I mean, we
yeah,
could go on and on about that.
yeah.
Um, some of the things I witnessed, I think, as I was starting to get older, I mean, like it was fairly common if somebody messed up in the church, like say somebody had an alcohol problem or a drug problem, or they had an affair on their wife, and like the church or the pastor found out about it. I can remember several occasions where they made them stand up in front of the church and like basically confess and apologize and it was just really dark moments for me, growing up and seeing people put in those situations.
Yeah.
And then also happen to be in the car in the back seat when we're going home, and I hear my parents talking about all this because with my dad being a deacon in the church, my mom
Mm,
being fairly close to, not fairly, very close to the pastor and his wife,
yeah.
it was just tough. So it started making me question a lot of like I said, especially when I got in my later teens, what are we doing here? Why do I even have to come do all this?
Yeah.
Um, and so I think there's obviously other things, we'll probably get into that, but there was other things going on in the church that maybe I wasn't aware of. And not that because I'm a male, but it just didn't happen to me per se.
Mhm.
There was definitely, ultimately, there was cases of, molestation from the
Mhm.
pastor, maybe even another member of the congregation that were men to other young girls, young
Yeah.
ladies.
Yeah.
Um, don't know if anything really ever happened to any of the male, any of us younger, young men that were in the
Right.
church. Um,
Yep.
so that's a little more. I don't know if
Yep.
that answers your question, Rachel, but
Yeah. And that similar to where, the hypocrisy,
right.
meaning if it's better for it's good for me but not for thee, that sort of kind of
Sure.
you're getting two standards here, one for, the maybe leadership, and then one that's punitive to anything that's
Oh
outside
yeah.
of what they're telling you you have to do. So yeah,
Yeah.
that is challenging too.
Yeah.
That Liz, do you want to continue with those? Because that kind of feeds into,
Yeah.
yeah.
So you kind of expressed a little bit what daily life is, which was pretty similar to ours, which was Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. We did Saturdays too. It was bus routes on Saturday,
Oh
um,
yeah.
which
Yeah.
I feel like was a lot of the breeding ground for the people who were sexual deviants, if you want to use
Mm-hmm.
that word, or just, because there was children without their parents there. I don't even want to think about how many children, were
Sure.
assaulted or whatever in that group, because we would on Saturdays go out and reach out to bus. Did the church you were in have something like that?
Oh yeah. I think if I remember, we had one of the largest bus routes um, in Oklahoma City area, probably Midwest
Mm,
City, Del City area. But oh yeah, every Saturday I remember parents even going out. I think most of the time I got out of those kind of things, except when I was younger, then I was probably hanging out and playing in the nursery with all the other church
yeah,
kids.
yeah.
But yeah, we were hauling hundreds of kids probably every Sunday. Maybe not hundreds, but I bet there was 8 to 10 buses that ran regularly, and there would
Mhm.
probably be 10 to 12 kids per bus. And the other big thing is just in the summer, you'd have a Bible school, right? And then they worked, I remember the adults working for weeks and weeks trying to get kids to come. So then there would be 200 or 300 kids in this church for a day,
Mhm.
and all they
Yeah.
would give them is halfway through the day, we'd get a cup of Kool-Aid because, you couldn't eat in the church or anything. That
Jim
was,
Jones.
yeah, yeah. It was a sin to eat in the church. You couldn't have a kitchen or anything either.
Oh,
But
that's funny.
Oh,
There's little variations there, but yeah, similar.
yeah,
oh my goodness.
yeah.
What so was there a school involved with this church too? Did they have their own school, or were you able to go to like a public school?
No, we went to public, and I think we did not have a school in the church. Again, I'm thinking back, the independent Baptists were very just, oh, that's wrong. You can't have a school in the church. You can't have a kitchen in the church. You can't,
Mm,
you know, kind of things like that. But no, as far as I remember, we all went to public schools. There may have been a few of the kids that went to Christian schools or something, but
interesting. Yeah,
I'm sure going to a public school, you were noticing the differences too in the kids going to public school versus the
right.
kids involved, that you were friends in the church.
sure. Yeah. And I think for me, though, one of the things that I always appreciated is I do look back, even though my dad was a deacon and my mom was very close to the pastor and his wife and very involved in the choir, all that kind of stuff. Taught a Sunday school class, both my mom and dad did. But I think they were always, it was my mom more than my dad as far as just kind of let me be. She
Mm,
didn't she didn't pressure me uh like I'd wear shorts, that's a big sin too, you could
yeah.
in the summertime I had shorts on running around because I was very active in sports. My mom was very aware that you're not going to be different and look different. You're a part of a team, so you're not going to, because we can't wear shorts as
Mm,
independent Baptists.
right.
You need to go to practice in sweatpants or something. It was never like that. My mom let me run around with the kids in the neighborhood, and we went to the public pools and we had a lot of fun like that. So uh, yeah, I think that was one of the things I did always appreciate about my parents as far as even though I had questions later in life about why we went through that or why they put themselves through that. Uh, I knew they kind of always gave me a pass. And I had a sister there too with us, so I keep referring to myself, but my
Yeah.
sister's 6 years older than I am, so
Okay. Wow. Interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of similarities. That's kind of, I think of like my Florida friends, because that was my experience too. Once we got hanging out with other groups, it was clear we were the weirdos.
yeah, yeah,
And then I was like, wait, there's more, there's different levels here. I didn't
yeah.
understand the game. Anyway, okay, I'm gonna ask a couple or a question about leaving. you mentioned like 16 was kind of a
Yeah.
eye-opening like spot. And then what was there a specific turning point that led to your decision to kind of leave, or was there a catalyst at which you said, okay, I'm out? And then was it hard to get out? Kind of, what was the condition surrounding that and what led up to your decision ultimately to leave?
Yeah, that's a great question because really the quick answer for me was I joined the military and got out of there. So,
A
but
quick out, yes.
yeah, and a little bit longer that to that answer would be I think at that age when I was 15 and a half, 16, I mean, I got my license, so I was starting to have a little more freedom. I'd still drive my car from, at the time towards the end of the time we were members of that church. We lived in Edmond, Oklahoma, but my parents and I were commuting to Del City, so it's 45 miles or whatever. Um, all those different times we've talked about. But whenever I started getting my license, I just again started becoming a little more independent. I'm like, how the teenagers are. Do I really have to go to church Wednesday night? I'm definitely not going to visitation anymore on Thursdays. Um, get out of the typical, hey, can I stay home Sunday evening? I don't feel good. And I remember a lot of times acting that way, just
Yeah.
honestly, I don't feel good. I don't, it's just like you would do to school, but actually I would have rather been at school than at church. It, uh, it
We
really got
call
to
it
me. Go ahead.
quietly quitting. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also at that time I could sense a change in my parents. I knew there was a lot of stuff going on. I didn't learn until later about a lot of the abuse and the sexual abuse and some of that stuff. And then there was a lot of just uh, controlling or verbal abuse from the pastor to whether it was the deacons in the church or whether it was some of the women in the church, were kind of higher on the pedestal, if you will. I don't know, that were closer to the pastor. And but after I could tell a lot of that was going on, I slowly started pulling away too. And then by the time I hit 17, I mean I was 18 when I left for boot camp, but I was just in the position where I could be gone, and I never ever went back. So uh, yeah.
Is your family still in that?
No, they
Okay.
stayed involved a little bit after I left, and if I remember right, they may have already left the church, but yet they turned around and joined another independent Baptist church. So it was like I don't know, one bad situation to another, in my opinion. Um, but the biggest takeaway probably that you guys could relate to too for me is that like I said earlier, I'm a Christian. I'm saved. I got saved in that church, and I'm very thankful for that. And I know where I'm going to be if something happens to me today or tomorrow. But it really, how do I say this? It really made me look at religion, not so much religion, but just churches, organized churches, in a whole different light. It's really turned me off to them. Like over the last 25, 30 years, I've been in church on and off, but never really a member and never really joined and devoted myself in time to a church or a life group or any of that kind of stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at today, with being in church and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I think some of this you've kind of explained before,
Yeah.
but um, so you're talking about how parents kind of supported you doing some outside stuff, which is very different than like what we were because we didn't have any outside relationships, but we also went to school there, went to church there, did everything there. We weren't allowed to hang out with other people
yeah.
outside. But um what kind of control do you feel like they had kind of over you? Is it just like a mind thing where it was set in your mind that um did you ever feel like you were doing something wrong when you did stuff that was against what they had told you was the correct way to do things or according to the Bible?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like I was saying, even growing up though, I felt like I probably read the Bible some, but it was always a King James version, had to be King James version. So the
Yes.
original, most accurate
Yes.
translation.
Only one. Yes.
It's the only one, yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Super hard to understand and follow from a
Yeah.
child and not even into your early
Yes.
teens.
Yes.
But no, it was just like I said, whether it was a haircut deal and I can remember my dad, oh, your hair's touching your ear. We got to go get you to the barber. Or, the type of music that may came on the radio. We didn't have anything but a radio back then. Um, can't listen to that kind of music. It was only the old time
Hymns.
hymnals that you had in the church and couldn't listen to other instruments and you could only have a piano or an organ playing, it was stuff like that was super hard to really just understand and believe in. Even from a young age, I thought it was strange. Um, but I guess on the other side of that too, because I remember my mom and dad were fairly close to the pastor and his wife. And when I say they're fairly close, like some of the other days of the week, they may be over at their house, like just helping them work or do things because they always lived on like a small piece of land. Um, go to dinner with them at times. Um, so I think I always kind of had a little bit of a pass, if this makes sense, from maybe the pastor. I think he always kind of liked me. And I think a lot of the times he knew I was on the borderline of kind of bucking the system and not, you know,
Yes.
and he always just kind of never said a lot to me. But I do know it's totally different for a lot of the other people in the church and a lot of some of the young ladies that were friends of mine growing up that ultimately end up he molested and
Yeah.
abused and all that. So, and there's two or three of them, I'm pretty sure, that went through this.
Yeah.
That maybe down the road I could help get you in contact with them. I think they would be great sources of information for your podcast. But
Yeah, that was gonna be my next question anyway, is like, did you have any, well, probably not at the time, but then did you know anyone who was subject to that, abusive treatment?
yeah.
One, and so that answers that question. But then it was sort of along those lines. Did your particular group, your flavor, have corporal punishment? Meaning like, right, did you have you got spanked? Did you
Oh yeah.
get, right? Any of those like physical things?
Sure. Oh
Okay.
yeah. Spanking was definitely taught and spare the rods, spoil the child
Yes.
type of deal. All that real hard biblical stuff was enforced. And I mean, I got spankings growing up. Looking back, it's like I don't feel like I was abused, My dad spanked me and then he'd always tell me why. And 99% of the time I probably deserved it. So um, and it's yeah, there was none of that like in a public setting, obviously, but
Sure.
there was quite a few. I can remember growing up, like I said earlier, public humiliation sessions, if you want to call it that.
Mhm.
Uh, which even to this day, I remember telling my mom and dad a few years ago, like, I cannot believe that.
Yeah.
I kind of called them out on it. I'm like, I can't believe you sat there and listened to this. One of your friends be publicly humiliated in front of
Yeah.
100 people in the church. Um, I would have got up and walked out in a heartbeat. So, but it was easier for me to say that now, I think. And
Sure.
Yes.
I think they were definitely caught up in it. I mean, I just remember everybody kind of looking at that pastor with like this, I don't know, this aura around him, like, you know, he was the next step below God and Jesus,
Yes.
So, uh, yeah.
Yes. They certainly made us think so. Yes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, let's see. There was did that, so sort of with all the rules and regulations and, the punitive, measures to make you stay in line, was that something that helped you in your military career?
That's a great question too, because I even to this day, again, I believe, like I said, if it wasn't for that church, I may not have been saved when I was at 13. So, um, I think a lot of some of the principles that were taught in the Independent Baptist Church are good. I think I still live a, I still have a fairly conservative mindset, whether it's with politics or my work ethics or a lot of that stuff. And I learned a lot of that coming up from my dad and other men in the church too, at times. and a lot of the women too. There's a lot of great women in that church that I look to as kind of another mom,
Mhm.
in my life because we spent a lot of time around them. So, yeah,
I think I think that growing up, um, I feel like I created like a moral compass a little bit for myself when you grow up in that environment and you realize, you do get a good sense of right and wrong from
sure,
that. So I think there's always positive things with, um, I mean, you can always take away something positive. I think in any situation,
right,
you can always go, you got to see some kind of good in it. Um, but I definitely think that, most of them don't start out being so controlling. I know mom, talking to my mom for years, it developed into that because leaders or pastors or whatever you want to call them, they over time get this following and it turns into like this God complex or
right,
whatever. And so I'm kind of curious if you felt that way because you were there since you were born, right?
right.
Okay. So did you feel it getting like more and more controlling, more and more I guess controlling is the right word. Um but I feel like they get this sense of power because there's all these people following them. And I
Sure.
think probably any kind of a cult, um not any kind because there are some that are definitely geared to just, control people, whatever. But in a religious setting, I feel like a lot of them start out trying to want to do good and then something turns in their brain when they have all these people following them. So, what are
Yeah.
your thoughts on that with yours?
No, that definitely happened in the church I grew up in. And I could, again, as I got older, I could see, like, just for instance, when it was the pastor's birthday, right? I mean, it was a big deal that, like, anybody else had a birthday, it was not ever mentioned. But when it was the pastor's wife's birthday, I can remember people in the church just bringing gift after gift, and there would be tons of gifts like for their birthday and like high dollar items and stuff too, Um, and the pastor always kind of drove a fancier, nicer car. And I don't know all the intricate details of how the church was run. I just do know that churches today are not supposed to be owned by anybody other than the congregation. The
Right,
pastor's not on the title of the mortgage of the church or any of that.
right,
I think a lot of that stuff was going on. I have no idea what kind of income the church was paying the pastor at the time. I'm sure it was fairly well. He lived in the
right.
nicest house out of anybody in the church that I remember being
Yeah.
around.
Hmm.
Um, so yeah, I
Gold
think
and frankincense and myrrh.
yeah, it was more like full quill ostrich boots and 50X resist all hats and fur coats. I'm serious, the kind of stuff
Yeah,
people would buy him.
that's
I
Um,
crazy.
know.
and he'd wear it too. So,
Yeah, yep,
but
yep. Same,
Crazy.
same, same, same. Yeah.
yeah,
So, just thinking, well, of course, back on it, we always think, okay, hindsight, yeah, but we were young, same as you, no idea, right? That's
right,
all we knew. But is there, you mentioned, right, sort of your moral compass kind of, right, the way you kind of see yourself, right, internally and the way your, your ethics and morals are kind of
right,
formed
yeah,
still by that. Is there anything that out of all of that, one that you would say to someone if they were interested in getting into a group like this, any advice you'd give? And then two, like a big takeaway for you, good or bad, something you want to leave with, like for the audience, for our six
sure,
listeners, because there's
yeah,
all six of them, tuning in
yeah,
at least every other
yeah,
week. Um,
yeah,
but to kind of like either, what is some advice you would give them if you've got to,
yeah,
talk about a group like this?
sure.
What's your thoughts?
Well, the first thing I'll say too is I have to admit I haven't listened to the podcast before, so I'll be the seventh member. I'll start listening. But I do remember when Liz was cutting my hair a while back when she first, and it was kind of a strange deal real quick that she's cut my hair on and off over the years. And so I don't even remember how it came up, Liz, but you just said something, and I'm like listening, like, oh my gosh, I went through the exact same thing. I mean, except from a young man's perspective.
Right.
Um, but no, I think I would say, like today, my dad's 83. He's still a member of an independent Baptist church,
Mm,
and will not miss. It's still the same for him. Um, my mom is kind of like the situation I'm in. My parents were divorced. They divorced after 43 years, so that was kind of a weird
Wow.
deal. Yeah. So, but anyways, my mom's not active in church anymore. She's kind of like I am, on and off. She'll go some. My dad's still very will not miss at 83 even. It's
mm,
what
Mm.
controls and rules his life still. Even misses family events because we're gonna get together on a Sunday evening type of a deal, and he can't miss church. So
wow.
uh, or there's a missionary coming in town. I always love those, the missionaries are coming in, so we can't miss that. We're gonna have that on a Tuesday and a Friday night. So
Yeah.
I yeah, I could go down the rabbit hole big time, and you ladies know what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Um, but I guess I would say, to me again, I mentioned it earlier, how I'm strong in my salvation. I know I have a security in that, and my relationship with God and Jesus and all of that stuff is more personal to me now than I think. I don't. I definitely think churches are still a good place for some people if that's what they
Mhm.
really need, and I think you can be around people that are like-minded, good people, but they don't believe like the independent Baptist churches believed, whether it be a life church. I mean, I got into life church for a while, which, you know, again, is a massive, big, huge church and with multiple locations and all of that. Uh, Love listening to the pastor, Craig Rochelle, preach. It's a little bit different because you're looking at a movie screen or whatever. Um, but again, there was just always something about it when I was sitting in that church, even, that I just didn't like, felt uncomfortable. So church settings to me are very uncomfortable anymore.
Yep.
That's why I'm typically not in them. So,
Yes.
but I guess
Can
I would,
confirm.
and yeah, and trying to answer your question, Rachel, I don't know if I saw somebody that was a member of that church, or certainly came to me and asked me what they thought, which that's probably not going to happen anymore. But I would just tell them to err on the side of caution. I mean, if you really believe that's the kind of the things you want taught to your family and your kids, and you want to be a part of it, it's tough to say. Be careful. You may
Yep.
be very disappointed.
Right. Yep.
Uh, and I would be interested to see. I don't know. I'm not even interested in going to an independent Baptist church ever again, but maybe the younger generation of pastors, I don't know, maybe they have a different mindset. Maybe it's changed a little. It's hard to say. Uh, so,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah. Good summary. I think go with caution's a great way to put it, you know?
right.
Yeah. Just,
Well,
Well,
everyone always wants to feel a part of something. And I feel like when you begin um in probably any church, they're going to make you feel welcome and make you
sure.
feel like you're wanted there and things like that. And honestly, I also don't do church because um I have a problem with organized religion. I mean, and
Yeah.
that's just it. It's hard. I When I left, I went many times to try churches, and I would just sit there and cry the entire service. I'm like, this is so weird. And
Yeah.
I can't put my finger on what the problem was, but I definitely have not practiced going to church in years because it's not for me. Um but I do think that everyone that wants to feel a part of something, that's where they'll sometimes go because it's a family,
Right.
and people want to make you feel a part of something. But I do think caution is super important and question things.
Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah. I
Okay.
good.
remember, I don't know how long we've been going, a little bit, but I do one other thing we haven't really talked about much is kind of the financial side of it. The
Oh.
Mhm.
independent Baptists were huge on, you better tithe, you better not miss your tithe. if your mortgage payment has to be late because you've got to pay your
Yep.
tithe, you better pay your 10% and then give more even above that.
Right.
Um, that's one of the other things about, to me, Liz, like you just said, you're turned off to organized religion. I feel the same way because it's such a financial deal.
It's
And
a
even to this
business.
day, when you see all these big mega churches and their pastor that lives in multi-million dollar homes, it's
Yep.
very hard for me to really, look at that person as
Yep.
I don't know what the word is, but
Well, if we want to get really loaded, we just need to start our own religion. Like
sure. Yeah.
hands down, that's the way
Oh
to
yeah.
go. Forget, education, just go straight to religion and,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
It's very true though, and that is a means of it's a mechanism of control, right?
Sure.
So if you're putting your money into something, you're certainly not going to be questioning it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And that's just another
Right.
way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. We can wrap it up. Liz, do you have anything else you want to ask?
I don't think
Sort of
so. I mean, I feel like our situations were very similar, except, I mean, ours was a little bit more, uh,
insulated.
yeah, maybe, just because our mom, and our mom was single mom, we didn't have two parents. So like my mom was fully trusting in everything. And so,
Sure.
anything outside of that, we were just like not allowed to do. And so,
Right.
um, and I think it's probably great that your mom would let you do other things,
Yeah.
That's fantastic because it gives you a little bit of exposure to the outside as well as, and let you have a mind of your own,
Right.
a little bit in certain situations. So that's actually, I think, a positive on your mom for sure,
Oh yeah.
allowing that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yep.
that's great.
Cool. All right.
Yeah.
So at the end of all of our episodes, we do just a win and fail, something you consider a win for the week, something you consider a fail for the week. And then we do a silly sign off. So
Yeah.
I'll go first. Liz, you want to go second? If you
Okay, go
want
ahead.
to, Brad, you
Yeah.
can. You can pass if you don't want to,
Okay.
that's fine. Okay, so real quick, let's see my wins for this week. I actually slept. Sleep is
That's always
good.
good.
Sleep is good. So
Yeah.
I got a couple of good nights sleep this week, so I'll consider that a win. Let's see. My fail is gonna be traffic. That's it. Just there's too many cars, too many people.
Yeah.
Yes. Fail is traffic.
Are
Diego.
you
Oh,
Yes.
are you
yeah.
in like Southern California, Rachel,
Yeah,
or
I'm
where are
in
you
I'm
at?
in I'm in San Diego area.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 When I was in the Navy, I spent 3 years in San Diego and loved it out there.
Yeah,
So,
it's great. I can't complain about that. But the
yeah.
traffic, yeah, too many
And
people.
complain about the traffic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will say my win for the week is I am working less as far as less days, so I have more free time. Since we moved to the city and I have been working less days, longer days, but less days. So then I have a lot more free time. And actually yesterday I spent, or day before yesterday, I got to spend a lot of time on our book. So that was a win for me. I'm going to say the fail is going to be my drive. Drive to work. It's still a fail. But it's yeah, that is just going to be it. Driving. I hate driving. And my fear of hitting a deer is huge. So
I got you the things. I got you the things.
Yeah.
I have
She
deer whistles on my car. Rachel bought me deer whistles
There
for
you
my
go.
car. I don't know if they'll work, but we
she
haven't hit a deer yet.
her
Yeah.
and deers have a special relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're
They're not good.
magnets.
Not good to hit.
Magnets.
So,
No.
yeah.
All right. Do you
Well,
Do you
want to
have
share?
anything you want to
I'll,
share?
yeah.
Okay, cool.
I guess a win for me would be that I got to be on your podcast. So,
Yay.
um,
Awesome.
I've enjoyed it. I'm a huge fan of podcasts, period. I got a handful of them that I listen to in any given time. It's funny because I'm listening to more podcasts on my commute to work there and back than I do music. But
Yes.
so they're good. Anytime again you want me back on to talk about anything more specific, I'd be happy to join you too. It's been awesome.
Cool.
The other win is I have a tea time at 1 o'clock this afternoon, so I get to go golf on a beautiful day here in Oklahoma.
Nice.
So
Very much a win. Yes.
yeah, I don't know if I have a fail or not. I try to wake up every day and do the best I can and be happy and because let's face it, I'm 55, so I kind of sometimes I feel like I'm starting to get into the twilight of my life. So
What are
even
you
though that's
talking about?
not, it's not
You're
old,
still
but
young.
uh,
We're,
I
we're,
just
we're
think
gonna,
about a lot of that stuff.
yeah, we're gonna live to 100. What are you talking about? You're
That's
halfway
right.
there. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And
Yeah.
then we usually do a silly sign off. Liz, did you get one or should I do it?
Nope. You got to do it.
Okay. And then as soon as we sign off, we're done and that's it. So my sign off today is congratulations on listening to the end of this podcast. That's
Uh,
it.